So, I tried recording this once, and I found out that it wasn't recording any of my footage. I am very sad, but I also talked for 25 minutes, so try to make this a little more decisive. So, I, Ambidextrous Moose, have been playing and getting a lot better over the last few months, and I wanted to talk about something that I see get brought up in the Puff Cord a lot, but what usually ends up happening is it comes up as an answer to an individual question. One example of such a question is like, how do I deal with Sheik's F tilt, right? And Relaxin or somebody else who's very good will comment about some aspects of this broad technique. And their answer is very good and obviously very correct most of the time. But I don't often, and I don't think I've ever seen this brought up as a globally applicable pattern that is, it almost trivializes certain ideas and matchups. So I'm going to boot up, and I'm just going to show you folks what I'm talking about. So we all know about dash dancing. Dash dancing is great. It's an amazing technique. It makes characters like Marth and Fox and Falcon very good. For us, it just kind of exists as a, well, if they're going to just try to hit me where I'm at, I'm just going to do this or something, right? Which is a good chump check. Like, if you see a Fox or a Falco that's falling on you at the same spot every time, you can kind of just do a quick, even a turnaround pivot. You can do stuff like that to just kind of like grab them, right? But this doesn't give us as much explosivity as it would for this guy right here. So one of the sort of like, everybody who hears this sort of thinks it's obvious in hindsight. So one of the ways that we can combat this is, our aerial speed is so much faster than our ground speed, right? And that's, again, sort of an obvious statement. But if I just do this, this is almost like a dash dance. It's an aerial dash dance. I'm going to call it an aerial dash dance from now on. And one of the things you note is that similar to a dash dance, you can vary lengths by going full hop or short hop. And you can vary what you come in with. So I can just do this sort of empty land. And I can be facing towards you, which presents different threats than if I'm facing away. And all of these variations are very much equivalent in structure to what a dash dance accomplishes. There's one key difference, which is if I'm aerial dash dancing, I'm not able to introduce too many ground threats other than, say, something like tomahawk grab. But in a way, that's good for us, right? We're freaking Jigglypuff. We're in the air. This is our home. This is our way of life, right? So how does this get applied to a matchup like, for instance, like Marth? Like, for instance, if I'm aerial dash dancing versus Marth, what does that entail? And why is it good versus Marth? Well, if you think about Marth against Jigglypuff, Marth is a very wave dash and dash dance centric character versus Jigglypuff. Sure, he can kind of jump at you, he can swat you away, but let's explore what sort of options he has in the air to chase you, assuming that you're not immediately above him, in which case the answer is just up air, obviously. But let's consider, we're in this position. We have all of our jumps. We have variance between full hop and short hop, so we have like a good bit of variability. And if we need to retreat or circle camp him a little bit to get position back, we have all of our resources, right? So let's start from here. All resources are available to us. Let's think about how Marth could presumably chase us in the air. Well, if we're doing this a bunch, he's probably not going to down tilt us a lot. He's going to be kind of scared too, because we can just do this, and we can do that, and we can do this, and ruin his life if he's at higher percent than what I just tried to do. But he might try to fair us, right? Like Marth fair, it's such an amazing move, right? Let's think about what would happen if he faired us. Unfortunately, I don't have another controller. However, I will have replays that kind of pretty much demonstrate a lot of the ideas that I'm talking about, at least in some detail. So he can try to fair us from this position, but if we're short hopping away, we're kind of fading in, he'll whiff the fair, and then we can poke him for free. And, you know, you may ask a reasonable question. Well, if you get a poke, what if he CCs it? What if he just F smashes instead, right? Well, similar to dash dance, right? Marths, when they're dash dancing, they don't just dash dance and do nothing else, right? If they're good. They're bad, they may do that. But like a Marth that's going to dash dance in a threatening way is dash dancing to make what he wants to do ambiguous. And so by us utilizing our aerial drift in kind of the same way and utilizing other mix-ups that are a bit more explosive, like run up shield, if I want to predict, say we're at this position and, you know, short hopping away would lead to our immediate death by him just F smashing, right? Then you can run up shield if you think he's going to do that. You can run up crouch if you're at low enough percent that the F smash or even the fair would get CC'd, and you can just, you know, down tilt and grab. You do all the nice things that make our character very threatening to get the Marth off stage. You can run up crouch power shield if you think he's going to fair, if he's going to nair. If you think that, you know, for instance, one option that Marth has against the short hop variant that's very powerful and forces us to think a bit harder is he can approaching auto cancel nair you, right? Because if you think about it, this is kind of like the perfect distance for him to just like burst movement forward, throw out an air, auto cancel, dash back to see what you do, and then respond, right? So he's playing all different kinds of ways to just kind of get you to stop doing this. But in that circumstance, you know, if I just hold down, if I come here and I hold down and I don't do it again and I think he's going to nair, then I can just F smash him for free because the first or second hit will whiff on my crouch, assuming he doesn't fast fall it. And, you know, getting him off stage, very juicy against Marth. I'm not going to talk about like punish follow-ups here because I think that may be something that I try to cover when I'm a bit more aggressively exposed, let's say, to some of the things I'm working on right now. But this is very good, and it's a mix-up tool that when you mix it up with things like run up shield, run up crouch, top off grab, you start to see the power even against a character that in theory beats us like Marth. Now, the reason I say that this is important isn't just because it's good against Marth. I will say it's good against Sheik. It is okay versus Falcon. Doesn't really work versus Spaceys, unfortunately. They just have they have a few too many ways to like kind of like Falco has a laser, which, you know, if you're short hopping away from Falco, he's just going to shoot the gun at you. And Fox he's Fox. I won't go into why any deeper than that. But against every other character on this list, almost every character on this list, this tool is a negation mechanic for those characters to have anywhere near as many mix-ups against you. Now, for instance, someone like Peach, it's less dramatic as someone like Luigi, Mario, Doc. And because I just talked about this with somebody who had a Dr. Mario question in the Cord, I'm going to just boot up and sort of talk a little bit about why this is such a powerful tool versus Doc. To quote Zasa, I talked to her a little bit about this. If you just full hop away from Doc, what exactly it sort of negates him as a character, and I'm gonna try to articulate why well here. If you think about it, if we're at this instance, if we're already point blank against the Doc and assuming he's just like standing there doing nothing like this, yeah, full hopping away, maybe he like reads you coming back in and he down smashes, or he, you know, scoops under you and does an up air. But normally, especially as you're starting your fight against the Doc, you're really going to be more at mid range. And you can stay at mid range for as long as you want. You're Jigglypuff. You may not outpace Doc on the ground, but the second you get into the air, let's think about what Dr. Mario has to kind of get you, right? You're in the air, so in theory he wants to be underneath you, but how does he close that distance? If I just go back all the time, sure, he could just, you know, for instance, wave dash forward and down smash me, but I'm not doing this mindlessly, right? I may see him wave dash forward, and now I'm going to be here. So maybe I give up a little bit of space, but I now have the data that he wants to close space, and maybe he's thinking, well, if I do this enough, I'll get the puff to the corner, right? And that is one thing the doc can do to sort of deal with this. Another thing he can do is be like, all right, I'm not going to interact with you. I'm not going to chase you. I'm just going to come up here and throw pills. Since you're floating around kind of in this space and you're just going back and forth, I'm just going to try to hit you with a pill, right? But the problem is that, again, Doc has very slow movement, right? Like, he doesn't have a lot of movement in the air. So if he goes to side plat, we can react. We can just be like, all right, I'm over here now. What do you do when I'm over here? Do you just kind of keep throwing pills? Do you just kind of like hope that I'm going to mess up and give you something? And if you think about it, other than those things, what exactly can he do here? You know, a lot of it is just kind of hoping the Jigglypuff doesn't know how to respond to what the player is doing. And if you think about some of the variations that you actually have a lot you can do to mess up the dock. So, for instance, if we're at mid-range and he wave dashes in to take space, I can place a back air very well spaced, very easily, because if he wave dashes forward and he doesn't get an immediate punish off of something, or he does something crazy like whiff a down smash, you may not be able to rest it on Doc. You could rest it on Luigi. More on that later, maybe. But you might not be able to get there in time to punish it. So what do? Maybe you come down and you back air his shield at a good spacing to where you're not going to get shield grabbed. So I can do this. And if I do it low enough and I'm outside of shield grab range, if he tries to shield grab, I can just run up, grab him, and I can start to get him to the point where he's going to get off stage. And as I highlighted in the conversation with the Puff player who asked the question about Doc earlier, once you get Doc off stage, you immediately go out there. You don't wait for him to start his recovery. You just go out there. You can only just hit him and kill him. It's very easy. Now, if he tries to go up here, you have to play a little bit more casually for a second. So you could, if you did what I said and just kind of take the side plat yourself, you can kind of see what he does. Maybe the Doc is just going to be over here throwing pills forever, like doing the short hop pill thing, pretending that they're Sheik. And you can just kind of come over here, whack him as he's throwing his pills, or at least scare him into coming back down here. And then I'm at mid-range again if he goes down there, and we get to start this pattern over again. Except this time, maybe, I saw him go up to side plat last time. So when I full hop here, I'm going to come up here and try to hit him. I'm going to force him to be defensive as he tries to regain the offensive pressure with pills. And this combination, combined with some of the things I said before, like, for instance, if he comes up here and he shielded that back air as he took space. So let's say he was down here before. We full hop away. He wave dashes to right about here. And we come down with a back air. Maybe he shields that. Well, maybe the next time we do it, he's probably going to try the same thing again because he's probably, the average player in Melee, and they only know how to play like 2 mix-ups, and that's it. And they're very convinced that the next time that they do it, that it'll work. All we have to do is tomahawk grab instead. So like, I come up here, instead of back airing, I grab him as he whiffs and he shields, anticipating that I'm going to back air him. And I have found that treating the aerial dash dance as the core mix-up mechanic of the character of Jigglypuff has opened my mind and simplified the way I look at neutral to the point where, at least for me, and maybe that's because I'm an idiot, I'm willing to admit that, I start to understand why mix-ups are mix-ups. I start to understand why certain characters don't have to play certain mix-ups against certain characters. Just think about what I just described to you. I gave you a list of options that, as far as I can tell, are the only options I've ever seen a Doc try to do to answer my full hop away. None of those are what Doc loves to do. A Doc loves to, like, watch you whiff a back air and then, spot dodge and down smash, right? He loves doing that. He loves to sort of wave dash in and up tilt you on your descent. He likes to catch you when you're landing. But if you're just responding at all times via the infinite time you have and the infinite speed you have with your drift, you never have to play against Dr. Mario in a way where his strengths shine as a character against you. And you'll notice here, if you play this way, when is he ever going to grab you? Right? If you've ever played a doc that's worth their salt, like I think Ender's a great example of this, Ender DXG. What Ender will do is they'll come up and they know what mix-ups they can play against something like this. But if they get a grab on you at all, at let's tentatively say 60%, right? If Ender DXG grabs me at 60%, I simply know I'm dead. I almost don't even DI unless I'm, trying to play well and make it as hard for them as I can. But Ender is just going to down throw fair me, and there's literally nothing I can do to stop them from getting it. It is not an option to not die there. But if I play in such a way where if they ever wanted to get a grab on me, it would just be really, really hard. What does Doc have to kill me? Now, suddenly, this joke of a matchup that Mango famously beat HBox on, it's no longer a matter of whether or not the Doc can get a grab or like a random fair. You end up in a situation where unless the Doc is super good at baiting you to come down or to burn your jumps, right? If you don't want to burn your jumps in this category of a matchup either, for similar reasons, they're just not going to be able to grab you. And a matchup like this where a character has a guaranteed kill confirm on you, if it becomes insanely difficult for them to get that kill confirm on you with minimal effort by you, and you're kind of just slowly chipping away at them until they're just off stage and you get a free edge guard or you get a free rest setup or whatever it is, it just becomes a war that none of them want to fight, right? And it is the strength of Jigglypuff, this aerial dash dance style that has opened up the door not just to being better versus a character like Martha Sheik, which this technique works very well with, but also it's opened my mind to the idea that there are high level patterns that truly do just functionally work better than others. And one of the things I'm exploring right now as a player is how, even against the better characters like Fox, Falco, Sheik, Marth, Falcon, how do I play in such a way where they don't get to play in their biggest strength spots? As I said before, I will reiterate this. This technique, while powerful, and it's fine to work into these matchups, Fox and Falco have so many tools. Even Falcon this is okay versus Falcon. It's pretty good versus Sheik. You can get around her F tilt this way. You can get around some of her aerials this way. You can sneak under her with up air this way. Against Marth, it is probably a quintessential tool. I actually don't think it's possible to play the Marth matchup anywhere near mid-level or high level without this well at all. So if you're struggling with Marth, I would say start experimenting with mix-ups in this immediately. And then for every other character, for the most part, it's just such a powerful tool. Game & Watch is a weird one. There may be some other low tier or mid tier that I'm not as familiar with where this isn't quite as strong, but it really is it's something that I found so much more success with. And when I say much more success, you'll see some of the data I have and some of the replays that I share. If I post this video tonight, I probably won't share the replays till tomorrow because I've just had a long day. I don't feel like fishing them out. But this is very good versus Luigi and the Marios. I know this because I play Sid all the time, and he's given me an enormous amount of experience just getting destroyed by Luigi. But, this tool has, even though Sid is a much better player than me, and I will not claim otherwise, this technique has made our games a lot harder for him. And that's my proudest takeaway from this, honestly, because he's very good and he's a very good friend of mine. But this is kind of the crux of what I wanted to talk about. I hope it was useful. Maybe I'll upload this to YouTube. Maybe I'll just leave it in the Puff Cord if Discord lets me upload it. I don't know. Tell me if this was useful or if I'm too dog shit to be talking about this. I don't know. Bye.